Predictable podcasts. There's a million of them out there, babbling about the same old boring stuff. But trust me, my friend, this is not one of them. This is Diary of a Bald Man. He's bald, and he's completely off his damn rocker, and I love that about him. Safety, dinosaurs, relationships, the many uses of a can of Raid in the bedroom. Hold on. Did I read that right? What the f*** happened there? All right. Let's do this. Welcome to Diary of a Bald Man. Now your host, the cue ball himself, Alan Wooford.
Hey, Keith, thank you for that intro. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is Keith Krammer. Keith Krammer, if you've never heard of him, is probably one of the best in the industry for intros and outros, ad drops, radio, all kinds of communication platforms. And one of the things that was really important for us to introduce with Keith was that there's a new turn in the Diary of a Bald Man. Yeah, so one of the things I'm really keen on is just simple communication. And you have to do it effectively. You have to do it in a manner that inspires, that gets people going, that gets them pumped up. And as you heard from that, one of the things that we're going to try and incorporate with every show is something that pulls you in. Like Keith said, things that come into mind may not be something that you're looking at or you're interested in, but it all kind of combines. It all kind of comes together later. So in today's podcast, we're going to catch up with everything that's been going on lately with Diary of a Bald Man, things out in safety. And one of the things that's really critical, I thought this was interesting, I thought this was something that needed to be brought up, was the app, a simple app that has saved over 723 lives. 723. Now, a lot of people think, well, that's not anything huge. I mean, people die all the time. Every few minutes an accident happens. But what makes this app so popular, it's not something you would think as a safety professional, as an insurance specialist, as a EHS, technician out in the field, to use all that often. I mean, think about it. Everybody is interconnected through the use of cell phones, computers. I mean, we get excited now if we get an actual letter in the mail, not an email with the damn thing dinging. And if you remember back in the day, for those who are old enough, when American Online came on, you got mail. I mean, it was so popular that they even made a damn movie out of it. So we're going to get into the app that saved all these lives, and it's going to change your mind on something. It's not what you think. When we look at the things that are on our phone that we use for day-to-day stuff, whether it's looking at the weather, whether it's listening to a podcast, something that changes your view, your perspective, your outlook on how things are, this is going to blow you away. And we'll get into that in just a second after this message from April and our sponsors from Crater City, Inc.
Hello, you are listening to Alan Wofford on Diary of a Bald Man. This episode is powered by Josh and Laurie Philpott, the owners of Crater City Inc. in Middlesbrough, Kentucky. Visit them on Facebook or cratercitylink.com. While Alan can and does cause trauma to your mind, Josh and Laurie can add art and beauty to your life and body through ink therapy and body piercing. Once the ringing between your ears has stopped and you've recovered from the bald man's rambling, go to mindinconstantmotion.com and submit your comments and suggestions. Now, sit back, shut up, and enjoy the show.
Okay, thank you, April. So, just like Keith, I reached out to Fiverr.com. It's got specialists of all types. And what I was looking to do was to upgrade the show. With JR being on temporary duty over in Washington State, one of the things I wanted to keep in motion was the fact that we're always trying to improve. We're always trying to incorporate new ideas, new information. Because like I was saying previously, lack of communication is huge. Lack of communication that is engaging and gets people going is something that we want to surpass. So I reached out to Keith Krammer and I reached out to April on Fiverr and I said, this is my show. This is what I'm trying to do with it and I need your help. So by incorporating that, we've now got a team effort. And just like with any other industry, whether you're in finance, human resources, safety, whether you're in consulting, it takes numerous people with numerous backgrounds to make something that's worthwhile. And that's what we're going to do with this show. Now, one of the other things I thought about to incorporate under the Diary of a Bald Man, the Mind in Constant Motion, is a new series that falls under us that's called Two Veterans and a Cup. And what it is, it's me getting with other veterans. Now think about this. Yes, I am a veteran from law enforcement and I am an Army veteran. But the idea came to me originally on Dragon Up 6.0, where I was going to look at veterans in the safety community that came from all branches of the military and from public safety. Because there's quite a few in the industry that were former civil engineers in the Air Force, that were former medics like myself and Josh Philpott, and others that have various backgrounds in construction, oil and gas, or, what we call in the military, fuels. They would come out and they would get into these trades because they had great ideas. They had good information from the military, and with their leadership skills, were able to bring this to the people in the trades. So with the Two Vets program, you're going to see where simple people, and I say simple because we all start out that way, we're going to get ideas of where they came from, what their backgrounds were like, what they went through in the military, how it built them up, or how it completely devastated them. So as you can tell, we've got a lot of new stuff coming out there. We're involving not just ourselves, but people that were like us, veterans of various areas, various industries, various branches of the military, various branches of, first response and safety. And it sounds like we're harping on that, but safety is involved in everything. Most accidents happen at home, not in the workplace. And when they do, they're catastrophic. So this leads into some comments that I received on the Mind in Constant Motion, webpage. So one of the guys asked, and there's actually three things I'm going to put out here from this, but one of the comments that came in is Alan, and this is from Robert Durbus. I'm sorry, Robert, if I said your name incorrectly, and he's out of Clovis, New Mexico. Alan, do podcasts really help with safety? And my answer is yes, it can. You can listen to various podcasts, and there's thousands out there. I usually don't listen to podcasts. I listen to Joe Rogan and a few others for the simple fact I don't want to take an idea or concept that they had or a message they had and build my show off of that. And then somebody come back and say, well, I heard that on that. Yeah, I'll reinforce the statement they made if it's something that I see as positive in nature. Because look at Joe Rogan right now. He was trying to give a different view on COVID or SARS or the pandemic, however you want to look at it, and people want him pulled off Spotify. What the fuck happened to freedom of speech? So my answer to you is yes. Because there's always two sides to every coin. And if I give you a small bit of information and you share it with two other people, and then they interpret that, or they look at that in a different view, and then they share it, yeah, what if it stops something? Okay, and another one from Karen Honeycutt of Gainesville, Florida. She asked, Alan, who helps provide for podcasts? Do you get paid for this? And my answer, no, ma'am, I do not get paid for this. Yes, we do take sponsors. Like the Two Vets and a Cup. The cup represents us sitting over drinking coffee, drinking a beer, whatever the hell we're drinking at the time. So if somebody says, hey, Alan, here's our coffee, here's this, will you guys drink it? Will you give us a review? Yeah, we'll fucking do it. Right now, to answer your question, I pay for everything. When I reached out to Keith and I reached out to April on Fiverr, that comes out of my thing. So anything I get has to be on payday. But, it's something I want to do to improve the message to you. Because I want to make the show entertaining. You get more involved if you find something, just something in there that you can connect with. Just like I said about other podcasts. I like Joe Rogan. I like, some other podcasts that come out that are completely different from my genre. But it's because I find it interesting. I'm a history and I'm an English buff. This one's from Jorge Gonzalez Jr. out of El Paso, Texas. Alan, with you working as a consultant and having working in various industries, what do you see to be the most dangerous of all industries? Well, to answer your question, I've not worked in maritime. I've not worked in a couple others. But recently I was working with arborist companies based out of Virginia and doing research just on OSHA, not on anything else. Looking at the Fat Cat reports, looking at the SIG codes. The arborist community has the highest fatality rate right now. I mean, that's crazy. Who would think that limbing a tree or dropping a tree? But if you look at the BLS, you look at OSHA, anything dealing with agriculture, fishing, or arborists right now, they're at the highest risk rate. And where the fuck are the safety people for this? We all see this, but, some of the people look at it as like, hey, if I'm going to do this, I've got to make this dollar amount. So, yeah, we are mercenary in a way, but others just don't get into it because of the simple fact, hey, how do I manage this type of program? Look at DOT. DOT, you've got so much going on with truck drivers, trucks, weights, loads, everything that goes into a DOT thing. And it's not something that's really well known. So for those out there in the DOT, hey, my hat's off to you. I don't know how you guys do it. But for those in the arborist, hey, God bless you. We all need to stand up and do something more. So, these are great comments that are coming in. And it's simply, they went to mindandconsumotion.com, went to comment, connect with Alan, and send these in. I will read it out if you have a question. And maybe somebody will get back to you. That's the hope. Communication, engagement, getting out there and passing on the information. So in just a minute, we're going to get into the apps that are completely out there for safety. But what's going to blow you away, it's not a safety app that has been saving more lives. There's quite a few out there. People use them all the time, whether it's NIOSH, OSHA, something that's been generated. But these three apps, you're going to say, yeah, I've seen them on my site. But the one app that saved the most lives recently is going to blow you away. And we'll get to that in just a moment.
She's kind of a big deal. Some people like to say it's only because of how she looks. She sticks her tongue out a lot. But there's just something about her that makes people do crazy things, like get tattoos of her face, or wait in line for hours just to say hi. Lil Bub is a 2-year-old cat, an Instagram celebrity with a following bigger than some 90s television stars. And it all started because she was adopted. You can't buy a best friend like Lil Bub, but you can adopt one. Help us save them all at bestfriends.org.
Now, I love that PSA from bestfriends.org. One of the reasons is the wife and I are both active in animal rescue. I mean, we've got 3 dogs, 2 cats, and a teenager. And we love the dogs and cat. Sorry, Skylar, we love you too, but damn. Yeah, so, one of the things you got to look at when you're thinking about pets and rescue and stuff like that, if you notice, people have healthier lives that have animals. It's just one of those things. You're taking care of them, you're feeding them, you walk with them, you snuggle and cuddle. So pets actually have a positive impact on your mental health as well as your physical health. So while we're talking about that, let's get to the meat of this podcast. All right, so previously we were talking about an app that has saved more lives than anything else. So let's look at this. A few weeks ago, I put on both Facebook and various groups, U.S. safety professionals, contractors, workforce specialists, and on LinkedIn, I put a variety of polls asking what was the most commonly used apps on your site for general safety and inspections. So it's no surprise that the number one app being used is called iAuditor. Now, iAuditor, the safety, anybody involved in management, they would take this, and I've had 2 clients that used iAuditor because they could develop the inspections, they could develop the reports to fit specifically within their programs. They could set up an auditing program for vehicle usage, confined spaces. They'd check off this, they'd sign that. And iAuditor is very flexible in that it allows them to do that. And a lot of people like it. The second most popular app is one called Safety Reports. Now, Safety Reports is probably the biggest one that I personally use. As a consultant, I'm continuously using that when I go out to any of my various clients around North Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, anywhere that they're located, because this is specifically for compliance. Now, they have a variety of apps that are available, but when it comes down to compliance inspections and making sure that you're ready for an unplanned audit by OSHA or Department of Labor, Safety Reports is the best. But the one that surprised me, the one that blew me away, it's not even a safety app. So you remember how I was talking about the arborist having so many fatalities and issues? Well, think about this. In construction, you have it as well. And if you go in and you start doing a root cause analysis, a lot of them involve Latinos or other persons of a different culture, different language, different mindset. But the thing that surprised me, and I reached out to safety practitioners, safety specialists, consultants, everybody, asking what was the number one app that was in use to enhance workplace safety or life safety. Hell, just somebody traveling, somebody getting involved in something. The number one app involved in safety, in dealing with construction workers, arborists, agriculture, meat production, warehouse, is called TripLingo. Yeah, it's not even a normal safety app. It's not something that you see on most people's phones. And what it does is it helps them communicate instantaneously with workers. So they take their phone, they speak into it, and it translates it into the language of the person so that they have better understanding, like OSHA states. Hey, train and communicate in the language of that person. Who would have thought that the one app responsible, not only on my client sites, but on other sites? Working as a consultant, I deal with a lot of insurance companies. I deal a lot of other agencies that have a multicultural workforce, prominently, Latin American, some Japanese. If you look at Exity and Exity America, that's a Japanese-owned company, but they get people from Korea, China, South America. And it's not even a normalized safety app. TripLingo, because of the ability to communicate into a device and then have it go into the ears of the person that you're trying to work with, has saved more lives. And it's crazy because when you think of it, Jesse Maddox, when he started this, I don't think he intended it to be a safety app, but is by and large the number one app for saving lives. And this is according to the research done by various clients that I work with a large Latin American populace. It's also by connecting with people on LinkedIn. It's being able to communicate. That's one of the things we keep stressing on this and the other podcasts, is if you can communicate and get them engaged, great things are going to happen. And I'm telling you what, it is amazing. TripLingo. Look it up, download the app, try it for yourself, and see if your abilities don't exceed what you thought your limits were. This is Alan Wolford reminding you to plan, prepare, communicate, and engage. And thank you for listening. I hope that this podcast and the others that we are producing for you help you not only in your personal life, but your professional as well. And reminding you, all you have to do is spread the word. Have a great day.
You've been listening to The Diary of a Bald Man. How do you feel? A little dizzy? Maybe a little nauseous? That was one hell of a ride, I know. It's our passion to make you feel as uncomfortable as possible. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, rate, and review the show. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, Google Alan the Safety Guy. You'll find all the socials there. Connect with us, or else. See you next time on Diary of a Bald Man.
This podcast has been produced by Alan Wofford for entertainment purposes only. This, or any other podcast produced by Alan, does not constitute legal, medical, marital, sexual, or professional advice. This, and any other podcast, does not reflect the opinions of his employers, clients, family, Sharp, Facebook groupies, promotional sponsors, or baby Jesus. Any health information shared, or mentioned as an alternative, does not create any patient-physician relationship, or other professional relationship, between the audience and presenters. No person listening to any podcast from this rocket surgeon should act, or refrain from acting, based on the content of a podcast without first seeking appropriate professional advice and/or counseling. Nor shall the information be used as a substitute for professional advice and/or counseling. As stated earlier, this show is for entertainment purposes, not how to lead or change your life. Do what the voices in your head tell you to do, or what your spouse approves of. Alan Wofford, and all guests of the show, expressly disclaims any and all liability relating to any actions taken or not taken based on any or all contents of this site.